Hi, my name is Gabe with Ultimate Water, and today I'm going to teach you how to inspect the chlorine generating cell of the Chlorine Genie. This is where all the magic happens. Ultimate Water recommends inspecting the cell if regular maintenance has been performed and the chlorine levels in the pool remain unexpectedly low. The cell is the source of the chlorine production in the unit. Therefore, the primary root cause of low chlorine production is likely an issue with the cell. Have eye protection, nitrile gloves, and an organic vapors respirator on hand. Identify a safe location to place the removed cell, as it will be covered in alkaline water that can bleach surfaces it comes in contact with. First, turn off and unplug the unit. Next, put on your protective equipment and remove the power supply head by unscrewing the wiring at the ring terminals. Disconnecting the tubing at the copper cooling tubes and lifting the power supply cabinet off of the brine tank. Now you'll perform the following steps to remove the cell from the 6-inch housing. Locate the black and red wires connected to the cell and pull them through the brine tank wall. Make sure not to drop the wires in the brine tank water. Disconnect the compression nut from the acid tube and remove. Disconnect the compression nut from the anode tube at the bottom left of the 6-inch cell housing and pull the tubing free from the fitting. Be careful not to get the liquid from the anode tube on your skin or put it in your eyes. Pull the cathode tube out of the 4-inch precipitation tank to free the cell. Again, take care not to get liquid from the cathode tube on your skin, your clothes, or your eyes. Now that the cell is disconnected, pull the cell directly up and out of the housing and brine tank. It might need to be slightly rotated or wiggled to get it out of the 6-inch cell housing. Place the cell in a safe place and rinse it thoroughly with fresh water. Make sure this water has a safe place to drain without harming surrounding concrete or plants. Now that the cell is free from the unit, there are a few things we will want to inspect. First, inspect the cell membrane by unscrewing the 4 titanium screws that hold the cell together on the flat rectangle area. Carefully separate the halves and remove the mesh membrane. The membrane should not have any holes in it or be caked with any deposits. If there are holes in the membrane, please reach out to support and order a replacement cell. If the membrane is caked with deposits, place in a bucket of 31% muriatic acid for 24 hours. Rinse thoroughly and replace the membrane into the cell. Identify the cathode side of the membrane by running your fingers along each side of the membrane. One side will be smooth while the other side will be slightly rough. The smooth side of the membrane will need to face the cathode side of the cell, which is identified by the black wires coming out of it. Next, before you place the membrane back into the cell and screw the cell back together, inspect the mesh plates. If the mesh plates are caked with salt and calcium, dip them in muriatic acid to remove the deposits and wash with water. Now that the membrane and mesh have been inspected and cleaned, reassemble the cell using the 4 titanium screws. Then, reinstall the cell into the Chlorine Genie unit. Route the cathode tube into the precipitation tank. Reconnect the compression fittings for the acid tube and anode tube. Route the red and black wires through the holes in the brine tank wall. Finally, replace the power supply cabinet onto the brine tank. Screw the wiring onto the appropriate terminals and reconnect the tubing at the copper cooling tubes. Plug the unit back in and turn the Chlorine Genie on. To validate the inspection and cleaning has fixed the cell, you will test the chlorine production of the unit. Wait for 30 minutes with the unit running for the cell to prime and then disconnect the Teflon tubing below the chlorine output on the ball valve. Using a chlorine test strip, ensure the output of the unit is producing 800 to 1,000 parts per million of chlorine. If so, the cell has been successfully cleaned. If not, the cell has likely burned out. Contact Ultimate Water Support for a replacement cell if that is the case. Thanks for watching.